Today's episode of Buy Black Podcast is brought to you by Mike D's Barbecue. If you want to add some flavor to your cookout this Labor Day, throw some D's on it. Visit buyblackpodcast.com/BBQ to order Mike's award-winning signature sauces and rubs. Use the promo code BUYBLACK to get free shipping and an exclusive gift just for the Buy Black Podcast community. Now let's start the show.
If you want to go somewhere or obtain, a level of something that you're looking for, you can't get there doing the exact same thing that you're doing now. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to shift something. And that pertains to every individual that has accomplished something practically in this world. They had to do something that either challenged them or made them uncomfortable, where they didn't like it. And when you're in that space, that's where you're going to see what you're truly made of and what you actually can achieve.
Buy Black Podcast, episode 55. 5 Critical Behaviors of Successful Business Leaders with Chevan Baker. Welcome to Buy Black, the voice of black business. The only podcast that provides free marketing for growing black companies, education for budding entrepreneurs, and a reliable place for consumers to find and spend money in quality black-owned businesses. I'm your host, Gerald Jones, and if you learned something from this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating or review on iTunes. Ready? Let's get to work. Buy Black Podcast, the voice of black business, your only podcast dedicated to helping you find and connect with black-owned businesses. Today, we are bringing you another great interview with Mr. Chevan Baker. Chevan is a serial entrepreneur. He started out at a very, very early age in entrepreneurship, and that kind of fire has been in him all the way up through high school, into college, and now out of college running his own business. Chevan actually got national attention for a major project that he led during his senior year of college, where he and a team of other students actually built a tool to help doctors and their patients monitor the blood flow in diabetics to help avoid things like amputations. So he's been on the scene for several years. He's out here now doing great things in the entrepreneurial world, and he reached out to come on to Buy Black Podcast to give his message and give a lot of tips and advice to you out there who might want to start your own businesses. Hey, Chevan, thanks for reaching out, and thanks for being here with me today.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. So as y'all know, we don't like to mince a whole bunch of words. We get right into it. Chevan, I'm going to hand it over to you. Just tell folks a little bit about your background and let us get to know you.
Okay. Well, as you already stated, my name is Chevan Baker. I am currently 26. I just had a birthday yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so in my 26 years of living, I have had the opportunity to have my hand in a lot of things as far as business is concerned. So I started in college. My very first business was my freshman year of college. I started with my childhood friend. We opened up and operated a tech blog, basically. And we ran that up for 3 years up until my junior year of college. And from there, I had to let go of the reins, but it was an amazing experience because at that age, 19 years old, I had not only, a social life that was developing on, campus, but I also had an academic life and also, a business life that I was attempting to manage. So I had a lot of things going at a very young age, and I kind of had to, mature and grow up a little bit, and so that I could, afford all three of those, things within my life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So we ran that blog, and like I said, my junior year, I ended up getting out of it because I wanted to focus on academics. And when I went into my senior year of college, four other guys and myself, we went in on a project and we developed we called it the Smart Mat. We had to give it a term for class purposes, but we developed the mat for diabetics basically. And that kind of just lit fire to the path that, I was already going down. And so, the path grew, and our spotlight on our project grew. I know when we did the project, I already had set aside a goal, to have my project, whichever project I did when I became a senior, to be, something that was of importance or something that could receive a highlight where I could get a page or something written up on the university website so that it would be static and in essence live on forever. And so I remember having that goal, and I was fortunate enough to achieve that goal and then some. And from there, with all of the attention, we received media attention, interviews, and we were able to receive an opportunity to be the first group of students ever on our college campus to basically have a business partnership, because we went in and we're actually in the patenting process for this product. So it has been exciting. And then post-college, what I'm doing now is I'm running my own tech startup. I have my own company, and we focus on web design and development, mobile app design and development, and content and branding. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm trying to, bring it through quickly, but yeah.
Okay. So I have a couple questions that I wanted to get you to go a little bit deeper in on. So you guys started the tech blog when you were in your freshman year. You ran that for 3 years. Talk to me a little bit about that. So the tech blog itself, what was the purpose of it? What did you guys actually put into it? How did you grow it? And what were you actually getting out of it? What was it, just a blog, or did you have any paid affiliations? How were you guys monetizing that, and kind of what did you learn through that experience?
The blog started, the basis was technology, of course. My good childhood friend and I, we've always loved technology, and this goes back to, kindergarten days. His grandfather, I believe he was a computer tech. I don't know specifics as far as what he was, but his grandfather used to work in like the old Microsoft DOS. Like he used to work within, that. And so, he was my friend and we would exchange ideas. He was always doing something with computers. So he had a knack. He built many of computers. I was right there with him, and he taught me, a lot of things along the way. And so we've always had shared a love of just technology in general. And so, we were actually fortunate enough to be, in that, I guess, that sweet spot in like the 90s, age children, where we were able to see technology transition into what it is basically today. So we got to see the very early peaks of a lot of those things. So that was extremely fascinating to us. And so we knew we wanted to do something, and the opportunity presented itself. And, when my friend told me, he was like, this is what I think would be great for us. We both have, this idea. I know you have this passion and this drive, and I have this passion and this drive, and we have this know-how. Let's put our heads together. And so that's how it came about. And so what we covered primarily everything tech, basically. So if you can think of, I'm not for sure if you're familiar with a few of the larger tech blogs out there, something similar to like The Verge or Engadget or Techno Buffalo. We were we covered the same content they did, but we were just on a smaller scale.
Okay.
So I had no earthly idea what I was doing. You know, and I was just like, of course, you know, why not take the opportunity? I'll learn something from it. So we, you know, dived into it, and it was a lot of stumbling blocks, a lot of things that, you know, you learn along the way and you get better. So, how we supported or sustained the business was we had another outside or entity that we would work on. So my friend was really great at hardware, and he just loved fixing things. And so what we would do is we would fix iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how we would actually sustain, you know, some of the, you know, the business expenses. And it was not really many business expenses at that current time, but that's how we started in the beginning. And then we developed it and grew it from there. And then we were able to actually get in contact. And I mean, that's the beauty of the internet. We were able to do some partnerships with people across this country, basically. You know, my business partner, he would get in contact with someone, or someone would contact us because they would see that, you know, we had a blog. They just stumbled across it, and we just exchanged ideas, guest posts, and that opened up a lot of opportunities for us. And so before I actually left, we were doing a live feed show that my friend and business partner was producing. We were doing it live. We were getting a live audience there, and we were just covering everything pertaining to technology in that particular week. We would all come together, and although we weren't all physically present, mm-hmm. We would all be together. So he would put it up via a video chat. Cause this one guy, one guy in particular, he had a large following, and he really, you know, wanted to partner with us. So that was how we partnered. You know, we would just create the list and the topics on everything that we were, going to have discussed, and my friend would produce it, and it was actually a big deal. So, you know, it transitioned from working on the hardware to actually, you know, the actual engagements and touching people who were in industry as well and who liked what we were doing. So yeah. we actually, you know, like I said, that period of time I learned a lot, and it was extremely exciting.
Awesome. So I heard you talking about one of the ways you grew it was through guest posting. And so, yeah. Hearing that, and then also hearing you were saying that when you went into your senior year, you wanted to create a project that was going to get you a static piece of content that stayed on the university's website forever. So that tells me that you have a really good understanding of kind of the value of having that content out there in different locations where people can link back to you. But talk to me a little bit more about that. What is that value? Why were you focused on getting a static piece of content out there? And kind of how does that relate to that other strategy you had of guest posting in order to grow your tech blog?
It actually has a significant amount of value because, as I stated, it's out there forever. So it has basically its home. That's going to be its physical home. Anybody can go on any search engine, put in some of the words, and it will bring it up. No matter how old it is, you know, no matter what year it is, you will still be able to go back and pull it up. And so I knew that, and that was one of the things that I actually learned getting into the blog business because, you know, reaching out and actually having the opportunity to engage with other bloggers and other people who were, in a sense, doing the exact same thing we were doing. You know, everybody wants to get their big break, or they want to receive that break. So, you can see that, and you can see the drive in a lot of people. And so, you know, after having that, conversation with those people, I was able to quickly, gain the understanding of the significance of actually doing guest posting and actually having something. And I mean, we can even look at backlinking when people, reference that post that you write or that you have put up on your site and someone, writes something to it and references it to it. That also makes it, stand a little bit higher as far as SEO settings. And, this can go into a whole rabbit hole, but, in a nutshell, it's significant. And I realized that. And so with that knowledge, that's how I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I went into it. And when I was having this conversation with my parents, I told them that was my goal. I wanted it there because it would be something I could link back to. It could be something that was physically there. So I have something that is on the internet practically forever.
Love it.
And so, for me, I can use that. And I didn't know at the time, but I knew, say, for instance, if I were going to an interview or something and I was going to construct my career practically like a lot of my other colleagues, I would be able to have that to reference to.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, a couple of quick things. The first one, actually, no, I lost the first one, and so it's just going to go with the second one. It happens. It happens to me all the time. But the second one, which is going to be the only one I'm going to ask. So since you have finished school and you started your company, which is, oneplacefortech.com, how has that content, how has the content from your blog, the content that you have from your project at school, or even, the exposure that you got in places like Ebony Magazine, how has that helped you in developing your business presence since you left school?
It has helped me practically tremendously because I don't want to say it appears, but when people find it out, because I've been more so, and it's ironic, but I've been more so a bit more bashful about, some of the accomplishments or some of the things that I've done. And I remember, about a year and a half ago when they had the nbsp conference here, our development officer, I went out with her and I met some of the recruiters with some of the large companies that, came here because it was a huge hiring event. And one of the things that they were telling me was, you need to not be so bashful and you need to open up and come out from the gate and put this on the table. Because in the hiring process, when you go into the hiring process, they have to look at different candidates, correct? And you have to make yourself different. When you look at it, if everybody has a degree, okay, that's the first base. But to get to the second base, you have to have something that was different. And, most of the times it has to be either of some merit, something you've done that's going to show that you've, pushed yourself above the crowd in a sense, or you have to have something as far as a connection to the individual. And so, after having that conversation and I started to be more open about it with people and explain what I've done, it has opened up the door because more people, when they see it and they're able to go and look at it, they're like, oh, you really are passionate and persistent and, you're not going to half step and we feel like we can do business with you. We would be more, in favor of actually doing business with you. And I've had a lot of that happen by just simply, explaining that and, giving them a little bit of my background and a little bit of my story, and it has helped tremendously. I can say that much.
Yeah, well, I mean, just looking at, your websites, you've got chevanbaker.com, you've got oneplacefortech.com, you've got somethingtolaughat.com. Like, you've obviously got a lot of experience making great content and captivating websites, and you know how to use that exposure in order to get people to get to know you. I'm kind of the same way. I don't like talking about the things that I do. It just, for some reason it seems wrong to me, and I know it's wrong to think that, but it's just one of those things where maybe, being brought up in a household with kind of humble parents, you kind of get this feeling of, I don't want to be boastful. I don't want to go out and just tell everybody how great I am. But you've created content out on the internet that just tells people how great you are. So you can point them to that. And then they're like, oh, I love this guy. He's great. I love it.
It's true. It's true.
So with all of that, what I want to do is we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back from that break, we're actually going to go into the main segment of the show where you're going to talk to us about One Place for Tech and these 5 tips for success that you are going to kind of weave into the story of your business life. So you guys hang on with us. We will be right back. We'll be back to finish the show after this short commercial break. Labor Day has passed. College football season has kicked off, which means we are heading right into tailgate season. So, like I've been telling you for the last few weeks, if you have not woke up yet to Mike D's barbecue, it is time for you to end your slumber. Just yesterday, Mike took home 3 more trophies for his championship barbecue sauces and rubs. He won spicy barbecue sauce and all-purpose dry rub first place, as well as grand champion for all-purpose dry rub at the North Carolina Specialty Foods Association Awards. If you haven't done it yet, go over to buyblackpodcast.com/BBQ and use the offer code BUYBLACK to get free shipping on your order of Mike D's sauces and rubs, as well as an exclusive gift that is only for Buy Black Podcast listeners. Do not get caught at your next tailgate party with bland barbecue on the grill. Throw some D's on it. Now let's get back to the show. All right, guys, we are back. And now we're going to roll into the main segment of the show. Chevan's going to talk to us about oneplacefortech.com, which is the tech business that he started since graduating. And also, he's got 5 key lessons, key tips for success for anybody out there who's thinking about starting your own business. So, Chevan, I'm going to hand it over to you. Start taking us through those different tips that you have. And what's the first one?
Okay. The first one is the importance of relationship building and networking. I can speak to that or attest to that has really opened many opportunities for me, not only in business, but also, while I was in undergrad. You meet people and you develop this network. And from this network, you're able to call and reference on these individuals, in not only in a moment of need, but even if you need some type of information that you might be looking for. So it's extremely important to, have your network that you're able to establish. And one thing that I do pride myself on is having the opportunity to be able to have a strong network. One thing that I've become accustomed to now, I have many friends who, when in trouble or who may need something, they call me because they know that no matter what the topic is, what they might be looking for an individual for, a piece of information, I'm an individual who will be able to, if I don't have the answer, I will be able to refer them through my, contacts in my network so that they can find the answer or so that they can help, them receive what they're looking for. So it's extremely important, and more specifically with One Place for Tech and with any business, your network is who you're going to, most times, 9 times out of 10, is who you're going to start out with in business. When you start something, the people that are closest to you, who those will be the people who will help you get your business out there or make it visible or refer people to your business. So it's extremely important to have a network and get out and actually meet people. So, one thing that I like to do is I always carry business cards on me. That was something that I became accustomed to in college. I made my first business cards freshman year, didn't know what I was doing, but I just knew I needed business cards. I just simply put my name, my phone number, and I took a quote that I live by and that I was able to identify with, and I still do. It's Mahatma Gandhi's quote, which is, you must be the change you wish to see in the world.
Okay.
And so
I
did that, and I passed that out to everyone I saw. Even if I didn't know them, I just passed it out. I'm like, hey, my name's Chevan Baker. I worked on elevator pitches. I did everything I could because I took it as I am my own business. And when I started looking at Chevan Baker as a business instead of, just a person, it clicked. And so that's where I'm just like, well, in business, to get somewhere, you have to have some type of network. You have to have the audience, you have to have it. So you have to make yourself visible. And that's one of the ways that you can do it, because you never know who you can pull a favor from or who will actually, help you. So that's the first key.
If you had to say there are 3 specific things that somebody should do in order to build a strong relationship or a strong network, what are those 3 things that you would say that they should do?
The first thing would be take the chance. You never know. And I'll expound on this one, being that most people talk themselves out of things. And so just take that opportunity. Even if you do not, feel like the person may see you, they may not engage with you, always do it. And when I said I was going to expound on that, here's the opportunity, or here's what I was going to expound on. I had an opportunity. I went to a conference. It's called the BEA Conference, and it was the Black Engineer of the Year Award, and they have it every year, and it's a quite large conference. And so the keynote speaker was Oprah's significant other, Stedman Graham. And so when I found out he was going to be the keynote speaker that day, we came in Friday. It's a weekend, basically a weekend conference. And so when I found out Friday, I just set the goal of, when they told us that he was the keynote speaker, I was going to meet Mr. Graham. I just said it that Friday. I knew I was going to do it. That was what was going to happen. And I was going to meet him, not only meet him, but I was going to give him my business card. So, the whole weekend that was on my mind. He did his speech. It's a lot of students there, and he left, and I stayed the whole time. And I made sure, and I guess it just worked out because I had put that much energy into it. But I walked out the door right when he was leaving with his team, and I had the opportunity to meet him and hand him my business card. And we had a little chat, and, we were talking about some of the things that, he had spoken about in his speech that he gave. And so, we were talking about some of the things, and he was like, yeah, your parents really raised you right, or your father, he's on to something, And so I gave him my card, and it was just like, most people wouldn't do that. Whereas most people wanted a picture, you have to take the opportunity because you never know what could transpire from that. I'm sorry to go on a tangent for that, but yes, that's the first thing. The second thing is, be willing to be approachable and be willing to, just be open to meet people. And one place I would suggest to meet someone is to actually go to, a bar. My father told me this trick, and he actually helped one of his friends, get hired this way. If you go to a bar around happy hour, you can pick a different location or somewhere, but corporate America individuals tend to go to happy hour. And so if you go, you sit, just frequent. And, that phrase, birds of a feather flock together. Mm-hmm. It applies to this sense because in this instance, my dad's friend was out of a job. My dad told him, just take $5 a day and go for a week, get a dress shirt, some slacks, sit at the bar, just order a little drink or something, just sit there and just talk to people. And he did that. And I believe within 3 days, he got hired on at another job, basically. He got a job. Just
Wow.
by sitting there talking with people. He told them, he was in between jobs. He did everything my father told him. And the man called on the spot and got him a job. So he got hired. So the next thing, like I said, is to be receptive. You have to be willing to go out there, and in the moment, you have to go where the people are. They're not going to come to you. You have to go where the people are.
Okay.
The third one would be show curiosity. I would say that is what will really help develop networking and connecting and even relationship building. People tend to love inquisitive people. And I found that out personally because a lot of my mentors that I've met, I just, most people, if you go there and you meet them, most people they're not really there. They're just there to try to see if they can receive an opportunity. But when you go in there and it's genuine and you say, hey, I actually want to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anything. I want to learn something from you. Whatever it is that you have in your head that you're willing to share with me, I'm here to receive it. And when you do that, most people will not only do that, but they will help you further along in the process, or whatever the case may be. They will check on you. They will see, this is a sharp young individual, or this is a sharp individual. I want to check on them and I want to know more about them. I want to become closer with them. So that would be my third thing.
Love it. That is awesome. All right. So what's our second major lesson that we have for today?
Controlling your own destiny, or controlling the path that you walk down. This one is extremely important because with owning your own business, you're able to do that. You're able to do it any ways, but with owning your own business, you have more control over what path you're driving down. With that, it's a scary thing. A lot of people don't want to do that because of that factor of the unknown that is presented with going and wanting to control their destiny in a sense. They're more comfortable with being in a situation that is more recognizable to them. They don't have to think much about it. So I would say, of course, the thing that I've learned is to definitely not be afraid. When you go down this path and you want to control your own destiny, you have to not be afraid to take the chance.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a maverick. You have to go against the crowd. There are going to be moments where people are going to think that you are crazy. It's going to be moments where people are going to doubt you. It's going to be moments where you might even doubt yourself. But that is all a part of being in control of where you're going. When you look at, I'll even say, like Steve Jobs. If Steve Jobs never took that chance and said, well, I'm going to do this, there would be no Apple. If Bill Gates didn't jump forward and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go on my own path and control the vision or the direction that my life is going to go, there would be no Microsoft. You have to be fearless and be a leader in a sense to challenge yourself to go out on a path where it's far and few who are actually traveling this path. And controlling your own destiny also ties in with leadership, because you being a leader, I'll take me being a leader, I have to control a company, correct? So with me controlling my company, it's going to be a lot of hard decisions that are going to be made. It's going to be a lot of things that me in this leadership position, I'm going to have to, participate, or I'm going to have to take certain actions that aren't favorable. But it'll be a little bit easier in the sense that I've already charted down a path where I have this mindset where I'm not afraid. That's the stigma, is I'm not afraid. I can do it. It may be blowback. I may fail, but I'm not afraid. But the last thing on this that I'll touch on is walking down this path also makes you stronger, because you have the opportunity of receiving a large amount of knowledge, so you can go and you can fall. And as I'm sure, as I mentioned before, Steve Jobs or Bill Gates did, but when they got up, and you see what they've developed and the companies that they've grown, behind it. And it's all because they decided and, said to themselves they were going to do it and they were going to walk this path.
Okay. I like it. All right. So what's that third one? What's the third lesson for us today?
Okay. The third one is taking advantage of every and any opportunity presented to you. This one, I can say I identify with the most because I've learned that the squeaky wheel gets the attention. As we live, and go through life, our day-to-day lives, most people, they're just in their routines. You won't think much about an individual, as I stated in that example of the recruiter. They're looking at hundreds of applicants and they have to decide on this one person for a job. The same thing is with business. There are hundreds of businesses out there. Why are you going to stop and choose my business? I have to give you something, or I have to give you something of value, or that you feel is valuable enough where you would be willing to pay me for it, or you would be willing to receive, my service for it. And so with that comes being always prepared. And it goes back to when I started freshman year. I learned that when I looked at myself as a business, and I received, that pep talk we had, the college had brought in Farnsworth Bentley, and he was talking about how he was able to become, Diddy's assistant, and all of that was by him being prepared and taking advantage of the opportunities that were presented to him. And so he presented the idea of looking at ourselves as a CEO. And from there, I just took it and ran with it. And so I looked at it and was like, okay, where are things that I can improve myself? I have to make sure that I'm presentable at all times. I had gotten to a point where I didn't answer my phone as a regular college student. I had a customized greeting on how I answered my phone every phone call, because I would never know, if it were someone of importance, if it were, someone who may potentially wanted a deal or just a friend. I always answered my phone with a specific prompt, I'll go and I'll say it.
Yes, I was going to ask, what is it?
I would start with, because a lot of people, they can't pronounce my name. I, dealt with that my whole life. So to beat them to the gun, I would just start the phone off and say, hello, whether it was morning, let's say evening, I say, hello, good afternoon. This is Chevan Baker speaking. How may I help you today? And it worked. Most people, and I can say going throughout college, I received that I was one of the most professional people that a lot of people have ran into. Even the people at the university spoke of how professional I was. And it was primarily me just tweaking a few little things. It wasn't a lot, anything major. It's just how I answered the phone, how I presented myself. I would go up and, like I said, reach out to people. Hey, I want to hear, more about this. If someone were to come through campus, or I would read up on someone who was coming into town, I would make sure to do my due diligence, that I knew about them, knew about what they did, what their latest thing was. I would basically study them. So that way, if I had the opportunity to get in front of them, I would be able to ask them an educated question or something along the lines of, the industry that they were in. Mm-hmm. So, I would make sure that I, attempted every opportunity, because the only opportunity that is a failed one is a missed opportunity. So it's better to be prepared and not have anything than to not be prepared and you get that opportunity and you just blow it, because that can not only hurt you, hurt your business, or hurt whatever, service or anything that you're doing. It can hurt your brand and your reputation, because it'll come off as you weren't prepared. And in the business world and the way that, business operates, things are preferably better when you're overachieving, basically. So that is the third point that I had.
Got it. All right. Awesome. So this fourth point, I do love this one because it is it's really a key to being able to accomplish anything out of the ordinary. Becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. Talk to us about that.
This is one of the most important. This is, if not the most important, because it all starts, we have these inner battles with ourselves as humans. And one of the inner battles is, should I do this? Should I not do this? We subconsciously have these decisions as we go throughout life, and we can talk ourselves out of things more than someone, next to us can. And so what I learned and what I observed and the things that I heard over the years is you have to become uncomfortable. If you want to go somewhere or obtain, a level of something that you're looking for, you can't get there doing the exact same thing that you're doing now. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to shift something. And that pertains to every individual that has accomplished something practically in this world. They had to do something that either challenged them or made them uncomfortable, where they didn't like it. And when you're in that space, that's where you're going to see what you're truly made of and what you actually can achieve. For me, in the business world, it's going through and attempting my best to continue to create relationships. I have to make sure that I go through and I try to meet every individual. I'm all about perspective. And so I like to listen and hear debates, and healthy arguments from people who are not like me. Because if I sit around and I listen to people who have the same mindset as me, it scares me. And it's just a scary thought, because that means we're all thinking alike. And nobody in my circle or people that are individuals that I keep around me, they would never challenge me. I have to hear what others are saying, what others think about this. I have to hear, just a different perspective, because it'll open up the lens for me, and I'll be able to say, well, I can question this now because I never thought about it like this, and have that opened up for me. In college, it was extremely difficult for me, because in the beginning, I did not like, to go out above and meet and be in uncomfortable settings. I just didn't like to do it because I was more, reserved. And so I remember having a conversation with my father, and I had went to an event and I was the most uncomfortable in life. And I called him and I was like, I can't believe that I even went. I didn't want to go. And after talking with my father, he was saying, that's life. You can't look at it like that. He was like, you had this great opportunity presented to you. You had the ability to go around people that made you uncomfortable. Those people will be the people who help challenge you. And so from that conversation, I was able to really see what my dad meant. Because my dad used to listen to talk show. He used to listen to talk radio growing up. And my siblings and I never used to understand why. We just like to listen to music, and that was something that's my dad's kryptonite. He would just love to sit on hours on end and just listen to people call into different talk shows and just hear their perspective. And he told me in that moment, he said the reason he did that was so that he could receive the opportunity to hear what other people think. And he told us in a sense, that's where he was able, it was like escapism for him because of the means that he came from. He was able to go into a different environment through what people would call in and the things that they would ask questions about or have opinions about. And so it was uncomfortable, but he was able to learn it and he was able to grasp it. And that's when it all tied in for me. And I, in turn, did the exact same thing. I started listening more to talk show radio just so that I could receive the perspective of other people, because I realized that these people have a different perspective for a different reason. They're looking at life differently than I am. And, you know, it's life. So I've been fortunate enough to recognize that early on. And so I can sit in a crowd and have conversations with various groups of people and really be able to receive their input, you know, not argue with them, because when you come from the standpoint of you're right, it's a dangerous mindset to be in. But just that alone is the single largest piece that you need in business, because there's going to be a lot of people that you run in contact with who will not agree with you. They will not. But if you give them the opportunity and hear them out to hear where they're coming from, maybe you can collect something from it.
I love that. And especially the getting comfortable being uncomfortable in all different manner of things, because there's a podcast that I listen to. It's called The Side Hustle Show. Mm-hmm. And he had a guest on one time talking about one of the productivity tools that he used is he would wake up in the morning and take a cold shower. He got in the habit of not taking hot showers, but only taking cold showers. And obviously when you first start, it's really, really uncomfortable. But that's the point of it, is you get comfortable doing things that are not comfortable. If you can go and every day you can take a cold shower, then it pretty much makes any other situation that you're going to be in that day. Walking up to somebody you've never met before to have a conversation, or interjecting into, I don't know, a debate or a meeting in a place where normally you would keep quiet. Like, all of that stuff becomes a lot easier if you can get out of bed and you can tell yourself, go take a cold shower, and actually will yourself to do it. You can will yourself to do anything. So I love that idea of being comfortable, being uncomfortable in any setting, because that just sets the precedent that there's anything that you can do. You just have to decide to do it.
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. So that brings us to our final lesson for the day. What is the last tip that you have for us to get our businesses started?
The last tip that I have is watching and listening to your audience and really finding out what they want. With the business, of course, you have to have someone that, you know, purchases your service, purchases your product, or purchases whatever it is that you're selling. And to do so, you have to gain an understanding of the person that's giving you their money. And a lot of times, and I learned this along with some wisdom from my father as well, we skew the information that we receive so that we can make it fit what we want. And a lot of times that can hurt us. And so you have to really be able to identify with them. In my instance, I will give you this example. How I do it is I have, you know, we're practically online based. And so everything that comes through as far as the website are concerned, we're able to see what our audience likes, what they dislike, and we do so by seeing how they interact with the actual website itself. So, and a lot of times what I've also learned, and I'll start on this before I go into exactly what I was getting ready to go into, but a lot of times what I've also learned is customers will, like when it comes to surveys and things, they'll fill things out, they'll say things, but they'll do the opposite. And our big thing was my father, you know, even with his business that he had customers telling him that they would support a specific service, and he got it overwhelming. And when it came to, they actually wouldn't support it. They were just saying it just to say it. And, you know, that happens a lot. Customers will just, you know, fill out a survey or say, hey, I will do this, but have no intention on actually following up. So in my defense, as I was saying earlier, how to navigate around that is, if I'm online based, when people come to the website, if they click on certain things, if they stay on certain pages longer, if they're not staying on certain pages as long as I would anticipate them to stay on it, that means something is wrong. So I'm able to look at the analytics with my team, and we're able to see what's working and what's not working and fix it. And so that's how we do it as a company. We look at it from basically a data driven point. We look at your data that you're giving us. Basically, you're coming to our site and you're telling us exactly what you want. And the same thing could go for a brick and mortar. You know, if you go into a large retailer, if you have 2 shirts, a blue shirt and a red shirt, and you have, say, 10 shirts apiece, you have 9 red shirts left, and you have 1 blue shirt left. The customers or your audience told you they like the blue shirt more. So, you know, you adjust according to. So you have to be extremely mindful of your audience and attempt to receive their feedback on your product or your business in an unbiased way, because unfortunately it's human nature. We're going to be biased to ourselves, you know, so we're going to want whatever the idea that we came up with, we're going to want it to work, and we're going to try to do everything we can to skew it to work. So customers tell us what it is that they want, what they like through their spending, and through, you know, even from a technical standpoint, through their website. But another thing that also you want to be mindful of is just what people are saying. I like to go through, and I like to, one, it helps me with talk show radio. You know, I listen to various radios out there and podcasts, and I can just get to hear from an average individual standpoint what they think. You know, and you can just take that and you can really trend and see where the trends are going, you know, and follow the trends. There's a Google service out there, and I can't think of the name of it right now, but they have a Google service where you can see practically what everyone is looking up and what's popular at this current moment. And you can do analytics on it, and that's taking more of a technical approach to it. But you could simply do that and look at the search term, because what they found out is Google lies, the company and the search engine within Google lies a lot of human perspective. Humans are going to Google, and they're actually putting out information that companies and business owners like myself and others out there who are looking for, they have it right in front of them, you know. But Google does it in a way where, of course, it's anonymous. You can see like certain regions, but they don't go beyond that. And you can actually see, well, if you think something's popular, you can look at what's being searched, how it's being searched, you know, and how popular it's been within the months up until. So, I do utilize that a lot just to see, because you want to know, before you go in or jump into something, anything that's major. And, I use that as a resource. And from a technical standpoint, it's something simple. It's actually free out there. You can see what groups of people have to say or their opinion are about, certain things.
Yeah. So I think actually the tool you're talking about, I believe it is called Google Trends.
Yes,
I think
that's
if
what
you
it
just
is.
put
Google
in
Trends, yeah.
trends.google.com, and so I'll give you an example of exactly what you're talking about, because I've used this for myself, right? I'm looking at putting together a product that is basically designed to help people to achieve their goals by first setting goals properly, second, actually putting together a plan with milestones, and then third, going ahead and actually working to achieve those milestones. So I went to Google Trends and I did a search on the term achieve goals, because I want to know, like you're saying, I want to know, well, are people searching for this? When are they searching for it? And it was really interesting. You can see on Google Trends, so I spread it out to 5 years. And what it showed is that there's a hard uptick on searches for achieving goals in early September that pushes all the way through the end of October. And then it drops off in the holiday season. And then there's a really strong uptick right there in that first week of January. And then it slowly goes down to the middle of February. And then it's just low for the rest of the year until you hit September again.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a product or a service that you're wanting to target at people during a time where they're going to be looking for what you're offering, then you can look and say, well, when are people most likely to be searching for this? When do I need to launch my product if I want to get it in front of the most people in the shortest period of time? Like you said, free information out there in Google Trends, but it tells you this is what people want at this time. Here's what you need to say to them, and here's when you need to say it. So I love that. I love that input you got.
With this day in technology, it's just amazing to see how technology has transformed into actually what it is today. There are a lot of tools that we can utilize to, I guess, double check or put as a reference to the information that we get. Everything that is said first is not necessarily true, but we can check it with things like Google Trends and look through the other search engines. So it's amazing. It's a lot of things that are out there and available where we can actually capture the minds of the audience and see exactly what they want.
Indeed. All right. Well, that is going to bring us to the final segment of the show, where I'm going to hit you with the lightning round. Just a few key questions for you that kind of give us a little bit more insight as an audience on ways that we can tackle challenges in our life and tools we can use to get ahead. So if you're ready.
Okay.
That first question I have for you is, what is the biggest challenge that you have ever faced, and how did you overcome it, or what did you learn from it?
Okay. The biggest challenge that I ever faced was managing business, personal, and academic life in college when I first opened my first business. How I overcame it was I learned time management. I had to learn time management and set an extremely strict time schedule for myself, because I was just going to burn out if I didn't. So I had a regimen where I would get up in the morning, start my day early, and try to knock out as much as I could for business. I was in class most of the day, so I would focus on class, turn my phone off, and then in the evening I would try to get in time and with social, and try to put the late part of the night and the evening into, work and doing up homework and doing that. So that worked for me. I got a little method, but that was the most difficult thing that I've ever have been challenged with.
All right. So the second question I have for you, what is your favorite tool? What is the favorite tool that you use to either streamline your business, save you time, save you money, save you energy, keep you on track? just whatever that one tool is that you use passionately in your business. What is that?
My iPhone. I love it. It is practically, I handle everything through my phone. So, this piece of equipment holds everything dear to me. My schedule, I have everything scheduled out. I have everything planned. I have it set up, email, and everything. So it's the one thing, it's actually the most valuable thing in, my life, because if I lose my iPhone, practically, everything is going to go haywire. But that is the number one thing, or a piece of equipment that is the most important in my life and scheduling everything.
Okay. Do you have a favorite app? Is there one app on there that you use more than anything else?
I don't think that, well, probably my email app, my Gmail app that I use. That is the most used app that I use on my phone practically. So between that and my calendar, those are probably the most two. But yeah, those are the two apps that I use.
Okie doke. Sounds good. So the next question I have for you is just talk to us quickly about one place for tech. What is it that you guys offer? What can people reach out to you for help with? And then, give us all that contact information. Where can we find you? How can we get in contact with you? How can we book you?
So, one place for tech is a tech startup. We operate currently in 3 markets. We operate in web development and design, mobile app development and design, and content and branding. So as it pertains to mobile app and web development, we do those for clients who are interested in coming and developing either their ideas or their own websites. As far as content and branding, we do have a couple of our in-house. Well, we have one out now. We're working on our second, but we have some in-house brands that we're actually developing and growing as we speak. One which we launched not too long ago called Something to Laugh At. It's basically an aggregate service that provides funny content, skits for comedians, and more so towards the niche base of the social comedians basically, and contact information. So if you guys are interested in business or finding more information about my business, you can head over to www.one as in the number, place, 4 as in the number, and tech.com. And you guys can reach me personally at my personal email, which is Chevan, which is CHEVAN .baker@chevanbaker.com.
Awesome. And then the final thing that I have today, the final question I always ask folks who come on the show, what is your number one piece of advice for the Buy Black podcast community as a whole?
You can do literally anything that you put your mind to. Oftentimes, the first thought that you have is basically the best and the honest thought that you have. A lot of people second guess themselves, but you can do it. You can get out here. You can do it with a little elbow grease, with a little help. Reach out to people. You can accomplish whatever it is that you even just dream up in your head. So that's my last piece of advice that I have for everyone.
I love it. I love it. Well, Chevan, hey, thank you so much for reaching out. Thank you for coming on to the show and sharing everything that you shared with us. For you folks out there in the Buy Black podcast community, definitely take a second look. And I say listen to this episode a second time if you didn't, with a pen and a notepad, and write down those 5 key tips that Chevan gave us on how to prepare ourselves for business. Because, to me, it all boiled down to mindset, right? Get yourself in the right frame of mind so that you are ready to receive the blessings that are going to come to you when you start moving. So with that, we are going to go ahead and close out the show. Chevan, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And folks, we will catch you in the next episode. Want to show your support for Buy Black Podcast? Become a patron and get exclusive access to behind-the-scenes content and a shout-out in our new question and answer monthly episode. Make your first donation by visiting patreon.com/buyblackpodcast and send your questions for the show to questions@buyblackpodcast.com. Talk to you soon.